Yes, hello, I am James Rowlands, and today it's the WNR381. It's AEW All Out 2021. But I'm not alone. I have the pleasure to be joined by the Ultimate One. How you doing, man?
Hey, buddy. Happy anniversary, because this is the 1 year anniversary that we first did All Out last year. And let me tell you something. This All Out that we had this year made up for last year's, well, should we say disaster? It made it up 3 times. I mean, this show was, I mean, if you ask for a pay-per-view with the quality of wrestling, the debuts, and everything that happened on Sunday is, I mean, I don't see any pay-per-view this year that have topped it. You know, it's probably to me is one of the probably in the top 10 of pay-per-views that I've seen in my lifetime in wrestling.
Yeah, without a doubt, it was such a kind of a phenomenal show. Before we get onto it, like I said, it's a year since you joined. So how have you found the past year on the WNR podcast?
Oh man, it's been fun. I mean, I know when you first asked me, I mean, we didn't even know each other, whatever, and I know that I was like, okay, let's see what this guy's all about. And once we click, it's like this guy knows his wrestling. He'll give his opinion honestly, and I'll give mine. And man, ever since that, man, I mean, it's like if I don't show up to your show, everybody's wondering where the hell I'm at, and I just have fun. I mean, and then not only that, we had Monty and we had Joxy in it. We had that great SummerSlam live preview stuff. Man, it's so much fun, man. And just like you say, I'm part of the family now. You know, and I hope that we continue on, man. It's been incredible, man. The run has been incredible. You know, we usually do a lot of Impact stuff, a lot of AEW stuff, but hey, man, it's a pleasure, man. It's just like you. I mean, you're part of the Chokeslam wrestling family, and the same with me. I'm part of the WNR podcast, and it's great, man. I've been having a lot of fun with you.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, mate. Like I said, it is a pleasure to have you on. And of course, you know, with our New York representative, as it was, you know, like we said, we are branching out across the world. And it's been a pleasure to have you on for a year. And like you said, hope for many, many more as well, you know.
Yes. Across the pond, you know, and I always joke around about that. But, you know, I mean, it's great because you have to sometimes expand your brand, and you know, and maybe you get a connection with somebody, and I think what is you, Joxy, and Monty, and we all got together for one day, and I think we all have that passion and the love for professional wrestling. I mean, you're a WWE fan and you follow it and all that, and sometimes you'll say something, we'll look at you like you're crazy, but you know what? That's you. You're passionate about wrestling, about regardless of WWE. I'm more into the New Japan, AEW, Impact, pro wrestling stuff. I do watch WWE here and there, but you know that's what makes it great because everybody have a different opinion, and you know, and it's respectful, and it's at the same time it's expanding the brand, my brand and your brand, and I mean the whole family's brand. So you know it's great, man. And you know the more people listen, and I mean you're getting a lot of emails and all that stuff. So a lot of people are going to keep listening to our stuff, and you know, and eventually, you know, I'll get some of those listenership, and hopefully, you know, they support my podcast same way they support WNR podcast. And you know, right now I'm just part of the family, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, like I said, it is brilliant to have you on, and like we talk about as well with New York. Before we get on to AEW, let's say 20 years ago, as we record this, 20 years ago today, the most shocking thing to happen, well, definitely in my lifetime, of course, 9/11. Being from New York, this might be a silly question, but how has it impacted you, and where were you kind of 20 years ago, and what are your kind of memories of it when it happened?
Well, I was at that time, 2000, it's been 20 years, so you figure I was 31 years old at that time, working for Morgan Stanley. I was in the, anybody who listened to me that's know New York very well, I was in the Times Square area at that time. That was where I was working at. I remember coming into work early that morning and someone, you know, showed me a picture on the internet. Back then, the internet was just brand new. It was just in its infancy stages. And there was a big hole in the World Trade Center. That's what the picture showed. And I remember telling my coworker that was not an accident. There's no way a plane it's going to run into the World Trade Center. And as time went by during that morning, it became real. You know, I remember my daughters were very young at that time. I was very scared because they were in school, and it was just chaotic. I remember leaving the job as they let everybody go that 11 o'clock in the morning, and I looked down towards south of Manhattan, and all you see is darkness, black cloud. It was just chaos. I remember walking from there all the way to my house, which it took me almost an hour and a half. And, you know, during this whole chaotic thing going on, sometimes you don't pay attention if there's airplanes flying over you or not. And I remember, I know they grounded the airport at that time, and I remember hearing like an airplane in the air, and I'm like, what? It's an airplane. I thought the airport was closed. And it was, I remember it was jet fighters, crisscrossing over the city. And it was chaotic. I mean, I remember getting home, and I'm like, wow, there's no cell phone service. And again, during that time, the cell phone was still in the infancy stage. There was not smartphones at that time. And it was very crazy because then the next day I had to come into work. I mean, that's how ignorant my company was. I used to work for Morgan Stanley. That's how ignorant they were. You had to come in, and it was scary because you had to take the train, the subways, and you were scared there was going to be a bombing inside the subway trains. And it was chaotic, man. And just watching images of it after that, and the scene and all that, it just messed my whole head up for I say for 2 or 3 years. I thought I lost my cousin down there because he worked doing the Wall Street area because that was next to Wall Street. I thought I lost my cousin-in-law who was across the street when the planes hit. But, you know, thankfully they were all right. But, you know, the loss of life down there, it was crazy. I mean, 20 years later, I was down there, I think, this past July, you know, just taking a walk or whatever. And it seems to me now that it's not the same. I can't be around there because it's bringing back a lot of bad memories. Because I remember, I believe it was 5 days before the planes hit, I used to go down that area because they used to have a lot of clubs back then, you know, after work clubs, and you go there, have a good time, whatever. And I remember it was a Friday. I looked at those buildings. I used to love those buildings, the way they looked in the middle of the city and all that. And, you know, just appreciating it. And then 3 days later, they were gone. Or 4 days later, they were gone. They were no longer standing. So, you know, it's very sad. I just don't like going down there anymore. It's just bringing me back bad memories about it. And, you know, there's a lot of people died down there. A lot of bodies were not recovered. First responders had died because of the cancer and all that stuff. And, you know, we gotta give them the respect today because they were out there for almost 6-7 months trying to recover bodies and all that. And a lot of them died because of the fumes and the smoke out there, you know, and we got to give the respect for them today.
Without a doubt. And like I said, thank you very much for sharing that with us here. And it's an awful moment, and we can only just send our love, of course, and just, you know, 20 years on, just make sure that, you know, terrorism didn't win that day as we continue the fight as it is. But like I said, just an incredible story. It just puts into perspective, do you know what I mean, when you're actually living with it actually happening as well. Absolutely crazy stuff.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you know, but then again, you know, like I said, I think they should have done, our government here should have done more for the first responders. A lot of them have died of cancer. A lot of families, I mean, not only adults died there. We were talking about, I think they had a daycare center. The little children died in there. 2 years old. They showed a picture of 2 years old this morning of a child that was in the daycare center. It's just a tragic. I mean, it was so bad. I mean, and it also affected the economy because after 2 years later, a lot of people lost their job because, you know, the World Trade Center has so many companies in those buildings. We're talking about 110-story high in each building. So that's 220 stories of companies in there. And once that happened, you know, the economy tanked. Things were not the same. I remember 3 weeks after the towers fell, I went down there to meet up with somebody, and you could smell the stench of steel and flesh. And it was just, that's the only thing that every time I go down there, it sticks in my memory because it's just, you know, I just can't go down there. I tried to go around there, like I said, in July, everything now is secured, and I think it's kind of messed up that people's lives were lost, and now they're using it to benefit financially now with this museum they created around here, around the footprints of the tower. So they're making money out of that. And I always question, how much of that money go into the family that were lost in there, But again, we just got respect that they honored them, and all this 300 plus firefighters that died trying to save lives.
Yeah, like I said, and just like it's incredible things there. So we'll move on from that, and we'll speak about AEW, because like we said, we'll pick ourselves one of the greatest shows of all time. But we're going to start with a buy-in, which was the 5th of September, and the first 30 minutes consisted of footage from the Countdown show that aired on TNT after Rampage on Friday night. It had an excellent sit-down interview between JR and CM Punk. Did you see any of this?
Yes, I did. Yes, and I love how CM Punk keeps talking about leaving the place that got him sick. So basically, what he was talking about is that backstage when he came back to do the backstage stuff with Fox, and probably, maybe Fox wanted him to sign with WWE because they knew he probably was going to be a big commodity, and WWE being petty like always, probably thought otherwise, and then when ended up canceling backstage, even though they were not getting a lot of fans to that. But listen, CM Punk just speaks from the heart, and I think that interview he had with JR was perfect. I mean, he pretty much explaining, look, they were talking for a year and a half with this guy, a year and a half. So he played it smart because he figured, well, I'm not joining a company that just started. Let's see what happens. And he mentioned something about the Brody Lee, when they did the Brody Lee memorial show last December. That's what really, inspired him to come to AEW. It's the same thing with Danny Bryan. Danny Bryan said the same thing. Everybody talks about that Brody Lee situation, and that's what made up his mind. And it was a great interview.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, like I said, it's good shit. It sets the story of what we're going to see. Then we go into the arena with Excalibur and Tony Schiavone on commentary, hyping up the matches, of course, the final fight. And of course, then we lead to the buy-in match, which is the Hardy Family Office versus Jurassic Express and the Best Friends. We see a cheap chop block by Hardy to Luchasaurus. Hysteria kicks for Mark Quinn and Izzy a private party halted the babyface momentum. He actually broke down from there with Taylor, Wheeler, Angelico, and Evans, all landing signature maneuvers. Jurassic Express though sparred with the H2 in a Paulus chicken fight. Michael Stunt wiped out the blade at ringside to prevent the interference, and Jungle Boy tapped Angelico out with the snare trap. What did you think of this?
This is a good way to start the match. I mean, I was surprised that they didn't have anything for Jungle Boy, the Jurassic Express team. They had him in the buy-in. But I figured that was going to happen because the scene now, they got the Best Friend and Jurassic Express now as this big, gigantic group. And the Hardy family keeps growing and growing by a damn week. So a 10-man tag to start it off, I was a little skeptical about it because, 10-man tag sometimes, you wonder if these guys are going to be doing high-flying moves at 100 miles per hour. And I know my roommate kind of remind me of something that I believe last year we used to talk about, and that's the two-place suicidas and all this, and and I'm looking at AEW now. It's like they slowed down the matches and made it seem more of a storytelling type of matches where you don't have the guys flying 100 miles per hour. And this is one thing that I was worried about in this match, but it didn't happen that way. But Jungle Boy, I'm telling you, this guy, and when it's him and Darby Allen, these guys are the future of the company, and I see them with championships very soon. But the aftermath was very, very interesting. I'll let you talk about that one.
I'm about to say, this is the thing with Private Part. I think talk about the match in itself. There's a nice multi-man submission in it. There's great action on each other's shoulders as well. The thing I was going to say, is Jungle Boy now more popular than Orange Cassidy? With Private Party, they were kind of on the cusp of greatness, and now they're jobbing out on a pre-show. So you've got kind of two wrestlers, or a team and a wrestler, that kind of lost a bit of momentum.
Yeah, but but you gotta think about it this way though. They got too many wrestlers in there. They roster as, I mean, we talked about it last time. The only thing they need now is Bray Wyatt, and once they get Bray Wyatt, they don't need to get anybody else unless they're gonna get Kevin Owens because Owens' contract ends in January. So I see him coming to AEW, but they got too many guys in there, and I think this is one of the reasons I think they're doing all this. I mean, I don't think they want to split Jurassic Express and Orange Cassidy. His gimmick is not going any further than what it is right now. Two popular guys, yes, but I think Jungle Boy is gonna probably elevate to the next level maybe in a couple of months. We'll see, and especially I see him feuding with Adam Cole. So,
It'll be interesting to see what happens. What are you going to score that out of 5?
I'll give it a 3 3/4. It was interesting because after the aftermath of that, pretty much shows that this little feud here is not over. I'll tell the people what was the aftermath.
Well, the HFO attacked the Hills after the match, and the Butcher returned to join them by attacking Orange Cassidy. Varsity Blondes, Dante Martin, and members of the Dark Order, other baby faces ran out to the ring to run the Hills out before Evans could cut off Cassidy's hair.
Yeah. So now my thing is this. I was very surprised to see Dark Order members there. So I didn't get that part. And now, and you know that we seen what's going on with Dark Order. There's a lot of, back and forth going on. So that really threw me off when I saw, I believe it was 10 and 5. And I believe I saw Silver and Reynolds in there. So that really threw me off that they came out along with the Varsity Blondes to help Orange Cassidy. But but this tells you right now this is not over. This is going to be a bigger feud. I like the way they started it. And the only thing I was worried about it was going to be that type of 10-man tag where everybody's flying in, dumping themselves on each other, catching each other, and we didn't see that. And it was an interesting match, and it pretty much just showed that this storyline here was the return of the Butcher, and of course, Jungle Boy elevating to another level.
Yeah, I think without doubt. Well, prediction-wise, it was triple threat predictions with, of course, myself, Jaxie, and the Ultimate One, or Chokeslam report as it was, and we all went for the faces, so 1-0 to start. Poll-wise, the faces got 79% of that. And then we get Dan Lambert cutting a promo from Luxury Box. Andre Orlovsky, Hugo Masvidal Jr., Dos Santos, Page and Scorpion Sky with him. Page and Sky also talked about, he said the roster knows that the men of the year are extremely dangerous men, but sometimes you have to take it to the next level. He said they will step out of the comfort zone and into the danger zone with American top team. And Lambert said they're men just waiting instructions on when to kick his ass. Not bad stuff. So before we get onto the main show, what is the match you're most looking forward to, and what is the excitement level for the event?
Wow. I was, oh my God, which match? What's funny? The match that I was looking for was the CM Punk and the Darby Allen, but also the tag team title match. Those were the two matches. I wasn't really worrying about the main event match because I already knew that Kenny Omega was probably going to win that match anyway. It was just a matter of what happened after the match. But I was looking forward for the CM Punk, Darby Allen. I wanted to see how CM Punk looked. You could tell he still got a little weight on him. But it was interesting. It was a good, interesting match. And that was the match that I was looking forward to. I'm like, I hope CM Punk looks good. He doesn't look, fat, out of shape, close guy too much. So he looked like he had a little weight on him, but give him a few months and he'll be back to himself. So that was the match I was looking for, plus the cage match with the tag team belts on.
I think without a doubt. But we're going to get started. Like I said, September 5th, 2021, AEW All Out in Chicago, Illinois. We start with a TNT Championship, Miro versus Eddie Kingston. We'll say fair play to AEW. We've seen a lot of build-ups. There's no point wasting time on the kind of promo videos leading into it. And as we go to Miro and Eddie Kingston, we see Eddie absorbing a lot of punishment, including a power slam off the apron, but fought his way back into the match, wiping the champion out with a tope superseded to the floor. Miro gained the upper hand and applied his game on submission finisher, but Kingston fought to the ropes, necessitating a break. Referee Bryce Rimsberg moved a turnbuckle pad for the The DDT and several seconds of a pinfall attempt by the challenger Remsburg prevented Kingston from throwing Miro into the exposed turnbuckle, allowing the champion to deliver an undetected low blow and scored a tainted victory with the masculine kick. What were your thoughts on this?
Oh man, this match, the way they started at this pay-per-view, it was a great way to start the pay-per-view, because we're talking about a guy like Eddie Kingston that, no matter what you do with him, you hit him or whatever, he's gonna fight. He's gonna fight. Now, the crazy part of this match, I mean, as good as it was the referee was supposed to do that? Go put the turnbuckle back? I nearly lost it out of my head. I'm like, what are you doing, Pin? What are you taking the damn, turnbuckle to the other side? But, I guess that was part of the match. The match itself was great because, I mean, it had everything that you expected. Miro trying to avoid, getting hit with DDTs and chopped in the neck. And Eddie was going with his plan, going after the neck, the chops. And then the Saito suplex. I mean, this was the match. And even though he hit him with the low blow, and that's the way it ended. But it's good because it shows you that this is not over. This is not a one and done deal, So they're probably going to meet up again somewhere down the line, maybe from here to November, unless Miro, gets challenged by somebody else. But this match, man, it was awesome. It was everything I expected. It did not disappoint me, and I want to see them go at it again.
Right. I mean, great reaction for Eddie. Eddie Kingston is a great story in AEW of someone maybe, not universally known as is knuckled down, kind of got on with it, and the crowd are responding to it. A phenomenal atmosphere to start the show. And yeah, a couple of missteps, but you got to love two big men going at it. The most punishment of jeopardy for Miro and the state of Miro's chest as well. And like you said, you fucked up chance. At least the fans went with the story referee not being in position. So then Eddie is protected from that. Out of 5, what would you score? Because I'm going to give it a 3.95, just under 4. Just because of a few timing issues.
I'll give it a 4 point because it was everything that I expected, and like it's the whole storyline. Look, Eddie Kingston came out with this shirt. I got to get this shirt. What he told Miro, I think it was a Rampage, he said, "Redeem these nuts." He came out with that shirt. Came out the following day, and I'm like, yo, I got to get that. It's just the storytelling, and it's that to start off a show like that with a storytelling, you know what I'm saying? And the way you already had the buy-in was great. Then you had storytelling, and then the referee, and like you said, yeah, the referee probably was supposed to do that. So then if Miro beat him, he'll beat him with a cheap shot, and the referee wasn't on point. So it protects Eddie at the same time, but it also protects Miro because Miro is, this guy, he's the redeemer, and you can't beat him, but he had to do a cheap shot because Eddie Kingston almost pinned him. So I'll give it a 4. This match was good. That is a good way to start a pay-per-view. And, a match like that sets off the momentum of a pay-per-view.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And I said this to Jaxie on our kind of, as it were, like the running order of this pay-per-view was so important and started off the show really, really well. Prediction-wise, we all went Miro, so it's all 2-2 at the moment. Poll-wise, Miro got 71%. The action continued quickly as John Moxley faced Satoshi Kojima, and the competitors engaged in a hard-hitting battle that left the chests of both men beat red. Neither combatant earned a sustained advantage, but Kojima did deliver a big suplex and followed by a DT on the ring apron. The back-and-forth nature of the match continued with Mox finding success for a cross-arm break. His opponent with a lariat. The Japanese star delivered chops inspired by Tenzan, but Moxley shook them off, delivered consecutive paragon shifts to earn a grueling pinfall victory. After the match, Minoru Suzuki debuted and came face-to-face with Moxley. They exchanged punishing forearms for the King Cook with the rear naked choke, then transitioned into the Gotch pile driver and stood tall to close things out. I mean, what were your thoughts on the match and what happened afterwards?
This is what I tell you, James. You have to watch New Japan Pro Wrestling because this is what you saw was New Japan Pro Wrestling at its best. I mean, Kojima, as old as this man is, he still has it, especially when he does those machine gun chops in the corner. And this is, if anybody's into New Japan or don't know about New Japan Pro Wrestling, what you saw between Moxley and Kojima, that's New Japan Pro Wrestling. Hard hitting, stiff shots, chops. and they're gonna do all kinds of moves, either Saito suplex, power drivers, anything you name it. This is New Japan Pro. I mean, I love the match because, again, like I said, I'm a big New Japan Pro Wrestling fan, and I'll watch these guys beat the crap out of each other till somebody can't fight no more. And the fact that Minoru Suzuki, who is like one of my favorite old school Japanese wrestlers, I mean, ain't nobody bad. He's a badass. For a 52-year-old guy, he's a badass. And the fact that he laid out Moxley, and I seen these guys wrestle with each other. Last year, I think was in Japan, I think it was February. I don't remember what was the pay-per-view, but these guys fought each other, and it was for the IWGP United States title. And I knew that when these guys were going to meet up on Dynamite, it was not going to disappoint anybody, because these guys, when they hit stiff shots, and you saw it. I mean, this match between Kojima and Moxley, I give it a 3 3/4 because I think if they would have given it a little bit more time, it would have been much better. But the fact that Minoru Suzuki popped out, it's incredible. I mean, I was fortunate enough in 2019 to see Minoru Suzuki live in Madison Square Garden at the G1 Supercard, and I remember entering the Garden to go to my seat, and his music is playing because they had the Honor Rumble going on. And I mean, anytime Minoru Suzuki is somewhere and anyway, any match, or Kojima, you're gonna have fun whoever they're wrestling. So this match was great. I got a 3 3/4 because it should have lasted a little longer, but because of how many matches they had, it was pretty good. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, wrestling against all odds for Impact and an AEW All Out is a great year for Kojima. And Mox, of course, repping GCW now. And this was hard hit, but the kind of winner was never in doubt. Better than expected. But the reaction, and this is what makes AEW special as well, is the fans behind when, we see Suzuki coming out as well. And, of course, their match that they had on Dynamite was as hard hitting as anything else. And what New Japan World does, anybody wants to kind of subscribe to that, the monthly thing, is I was lucky enough to watch all the Moxley's kind of US title defenses, which included Suzuki. So when he kind of popped up, I thought, oh, that's brilliant, because it's long-term storytelling still, do you know what I mean? Which is, switching to AEW, which is great. For me, again, 3 3/4 out of 5. Really, really fun, especially the blood on Suzuki from Moxley after the match when they're exchanging. It's just, great. Like I said, predictions all went Moxley, so it's 3-0. Poll-wise, 80% went for Mox. And then we go to the AEW World Women's Championship. Dr. Brit Baker, DMD versus Chris Statlander. And Rebel and Jamie Hayter accompanied the title holder to the ring, while Orange Cassidy second the challenger. And Statlander overwhelmed her opponent early with her strength and size advantage, but Baker downed her, worked her over in the centre, and brought the Doctor crash the mat with a devastating superplex. Luckily, Statlander protected Brit. She attempted the area 451 splash, but came up empty. The challenger crashed to the floor thanks to the missed pendulum moonsault, but Baker made her pay for it with a stomp to the stairs. And fired up Cassidy, demanded she gets back in the ring, if she did. Baker delivered a Pittsburgh Sunrise and added a stomp, followed by the lockjaw moments later to retain her title. What were your thoughts on this?
Oh, let me tell you something. The funny thing is, I think this match was pretty good. It was pretty good. The fact is to see Orange Cassidy actually get mad and tell Chris Statlander get in the ring, it was hilarious. I've never seen that man ever upset. And it was pretty good. I think Statlander showed that she still she could be in the title hunt. But Brit Baker is getting good. She's getting good by every time she defends her title. Now, what's funny was when she hit that Sunset Power Driver or whatever they call us, Adam Cole does, I was like, wow, she's using her boyfriend's move. And I was like, and then it crossed my mind that probably Adam Cole would show up. But just seeing her do that, I said, well, he's probably going to show up down the line, maybe a couple of weeks or whatever. But, again, I think what they did with Chris Statlander in this match, pretty much they gave her the title shot because she's been doing great, whatever. But I don't think right now, I think with Brit Baker, I mean, she's going to keep beating everybody in there. Right now, I don't see nobody beating her. This match, I give it probably 3 3/4, or actually 3.5, because I think Statlander did a little bodges in there, I mean, she still could improve. But she went for the 450 area splash, and she missed. But it was pretty decent for a women's match compared to most of the time you see in AEW. This was a pretty decent match. Brit Baker, I don't think she has had any bad matches. I haven't seen none in the last year and a half. But Stanlander, sometimes look like little green, I think. But I gotta give her time, But she's still gonna be in that hunt. I'll see her there in the women's title hunt.
Yeah, I think my whole kind of night is a placement and the treatment of the women's division. Because if you don't treat as important, then the AEW fans will treat it as such. Guys getting snacks in the front row as they did. Some really solid stuff in this, but the fans didn't believe Chris would beat Baker. Like I said, you've got to build up legitimate challenges for someone as strong as Baker. But the finish was ace as well. Like I said, the near finish with the Panama Sunrise. I'm going to give it 3 3/4 out of 5. Prediction-wise, we all went Baker, so we're 4-0 at the moment. And 1% of the vote. And then Andrade El Idolo's interview backstage about Pac's travel issues. He said he's here to fight and he wouldn't miss a show, and Chavo denies cancelling Pac's fight, insisting that actually the bastard is just scared. When you look at the card, I mean, where would that have fit in anyway? So we're kind of glad that he missed the show, even though it would have been a banger.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only reason, I don't know if it was legit that Pac had travel issues, but when the card where you would have had that, I think they would have had that probably the third match before Baker's match, probably, because you're talking about Pac and Andrade, 2 guys that you're going to have to get them at least 15 to 20-minute match, at least. You're not going to give them a 5-minute match with 2 guys with that type of wrestling skills and ability. At the end of the day, I think there were too many matches. It probably would have been short. So probably Tony Khan figured, like, look, I don't know how legit it was if Pac was having travel issues. And then again, if he is, I'm saying to myself, why are you traveling back and forth to UK and then back to the United States? I don't know if he got other endeavors across the pond. I don't know. But, I mean, I don't know where it would have fit. They had like about 7 matches in there. So I'm glad that they didn't do it. I still haven't watched Rampage from last night, but I want to see that match. But, and it's funny. I don't know if you could agree with me, but the Chavo Guerrero was talking about, I didn't do that. Like, it's like Andrade don't trust him if he's doing something wrong. So unless they're trying to set up something where Andrade gets rid of Chavo Guerrero Jr. and brings in Ric Flair as his consultant, I mean, that could happen because, I mean, I thought at first they were going to have this old Mexican faction where, like, the Lucha Bros will probably turn on Pac, and then you have Andrade's with them, or they become the new Death Triangle with Chavo Guerrero. But I don't know. Now that the Lucha Bros won the tag team belts, that's not going to happen. So I don't know. I mean, it's kind of iffy when it comes to that with Andrade's, and I don't know where they're going to go with this Pac and Andrade's feud, but we'll see.
Without doubt, we'll talk about Rampage a little bit, but up next, the AEW Tag Team match, Steel Cage, the Young Bucks versus the Lucha Bros, and Pedro Camarado and Rey Fenix sporting headdresses as their theme song was performed live for the first time. Young Bucks followed with the AEW Tag Team Champions oozing confidence despite not having the Good Brothers, Brandon Cutler and Don Callis available backup due to a Steel Cage stipulation. I thought the entrances were fucking crazy, as in brilliant and such a big fight feel, Yeah,
I mean, I don't know who those guys were. I mean, because I followed with music and all that stuff, or with the hip hop scene, whatever. I never even heard of these guys, and the whole entrance was just awesome. I mean, the whole headgear. I mean, it was just awesome. I'm like, I don't think you couldn't do anything better than that. That was awesome. The entrance and the whole thing. So it gave that big fight feel where there was something special was going to happen in that steel cage match.
Well, the action was fast and furious, innovative, as one would imagine based on their previous encounters. The Bucks dominated the action, using their tandem offense to keep Penta and Phoenix from adding anything resembling a sustained comeback. The Bucks attempted to dishonor their opponents by ripping at the masks, and Penta bled under his shredded face covering, when injury further exploited after the champs introduced a special boot adorned with thumbtacks. They used it on the challengers, but Lucha Brothers refused to stay down. bloodied and battered. Phoenix Matt had a courageous comeback, giving Matt and Nick Jackson some of their own medicine by way of tax. Penta and Matt delivered a stereo package, apron laying each other's younger sibling. From there, Penta delivered an avalanche destroyer on Matt. The champions delivered a fear factor for a near fall as Matt just broke up the pin. Phoenix scaled the cage and Nick attempted to join him, only to bump to the mat below. And Phoenix soared off the top, wiping everyone out. They joined in Penta for the spike pile driver on Nick. And ladies and gentlemen, your new AEW Tag Team Champions, Lucha Brothers, Penta and Ray Phoenix. What were your thoughts on this?
This match, I mean, the fact that there was blood in there. You listen. They put it with the Young Bucks are doing everything possible for everybody to hate them. I mean, for them to come out with a pair of Nikes with thumbtacks on it, and to use it on these guys, they even broke the mask. Now, the thing with the mask, I'm not too crazy with that. When they try to rip the guy's mask off, and now you can see their face. I don't know why they do that. I'm not too crazy about that. But the whole thing, like the whole match, I mean, because the Young Bucks took control very early when they were doing like they threw Phoenix in a power bomb on the cage. I mean, they started beating on Penta with the sneaker. I mean, this was great. Listen, the Canadian Destroyer, I believe, was from the second rope or the top rope. I think it was from the top rope. Yeah. That was crazy. I was surprised. How in the hell did Matt Jackson get up from that? Because he hit head first on the canvas. It wasn't like some guys when they do that Canadian Destroyer, they tuck their head a little bit in so they don't feel the impact straight onto the cranium. Matt Jackson hit straight cranium first into the mat. I'm like, you don't know how to rate it because these guys had a match 2 years ago called La Escalera de la Muerte, which is the ladder of death, and that match was retarded. I mean, when I mean retarded, it was just out of control. I think Penta hit. I don't know if it was Nick Jackson on a Canadian Destroyer on the ladder while the ladder was against the ring and the railing outside. I mean, you would think they won't be able to top this, but that move, a top rope Canadian Destroyer, and I was like, these guys are gonna kill each other. But the match itself, listen, it's gonna sound crazy because I have not seen tag team wrestling like this in a while, and I will give this a 4.5 because if people are gonna probably be like, oh, he's crazy. What do you mean 4.5? And I say it's 4.5. It was that good. That's this Monday, WWE tried to do a tag team turmoil, whatever they want to call it, and they don't use tag teams. They don't got tag team. That's how good it was. Okay, you can't top that. I will give this a 4.5 stars. Call me crazy.
I'd say
4.5.
I don't call you crazy. Like I said, All Out 2019 ladder match was mental between these two. But now with the Bucks as heels, I mean, Nick as a heel has been fire. And Ray Phoenix just makes me wow. And I don't think there's a ref. I mean, there was one point where he sprung off the sides of the cage like he was Spider-Man, you know,
Yes.
and then jived. And then, you know, you see him running across the top of the cage as well. Tony on commentary telling Donnie's for the shit. You wouldn't get that in WWE, and that's kind of like about the commentator table. Penta with the ace juice job as it was. I mean, even later you see the title belts covered in his blood, and it's literally blood, sweat, and tears. The crowd loved it. I loved it. This is tag team wrestling. For me, it's a match of the year candidate. Out of 5, you think 4.5? I'm going to give this 5 out of 5 because this was incredible.
Wow.
You do
5
not get this
out of 5.
elsewhere. You do not.
Okay.
This is tag team wrestling.
So let me ask you a question. I'm going to put you in the spot. So you think their match in 2019, the Ladder of Death, was not better than this?
I think this was better because of the story, because of it. Like I said, we had to have the match. It's like TLC and TLC 2. You had to have the first match, but this kind of set it up. And the crowd reaction when the Bucks, they thought the Bucks were going to retain, and they kind of got silent. And then the roar from the crowd when the Lucha Brothers actually get the job done as well. And you go, this is a moment in time. This is tag team wrestling. Just thank you very much, AEW, you know?
Yeah. I mean, this match, I mean, again, I remember their match 2 years ago at the All Out 2019. But this, I mean, just the Canadian Destroyer from the top rope. And that alone right there, and for Matt to take a bump like that is amazing, because a lot of people would be like, oh, I don't think I want to take that bump because it's a dangerous bump. He didn't tuck his head in or nothing. He took that bump cranium first. So, I mean, it was unbelievable. That's why I say WWE didn't try to come back 2 nights later. Actually, the night after with this tag team turmoil, you're not going to top the tag teams in AEW. I mean, they mentioned it in 2019 that they were going to be about tag team wrestling. And you've seen that. I mean, the Lucha Bros winning the tag team titles. And, I mean, I would have thought that probably would have taken it away from them. That didn't happen. We thought FTR was going to take away the belts. They actually took the belts from FTR. That didn't happen. I mean, when I at first I thought, well, Jurassic Express has second chance to take the belt. Yeah. But for them to give it to the Lucha Bros, I mean, you can't ask for anything better. Ray Phoenix is just masterful. Yeah. That's all the works.
Like I said, they are all stars in their own right. It's just incredible stuff. Just pleased to see it. Prediction-wise, yourself and Jaxie went for the Lucha Bros. I went for the Bucks. So you both take it. It's a 5-5-4 now. So you're both joint in the lead. Poll-wise, the Bros, 62%. They show clips of the matches we've seen. And then the Women's Casino Battle Royale. So we've got Big Swole, the Bunny, Thunder Rose, Red Velvet, Take On T, Penelope Ford, Diamante. But I tell you what, we'll just do the order of entry first because the clubs were Kerashida, Sky Bunny, and Abdomen. Sky Blue was the crowd favourite. Abdomen was eliminated just as quick. I don't know what happened with her kind of push. Diamonds, Anna J, Kira Hogan, Killing King, Diamante, Nyla Rose. I like Hogan for obvious reasons. Management kind of didn't.
Impact Wrestling.
Yeah. Obviously, AEW didn't really like her, so they kind of got rid of her pretty quickly. Diamante, she won on the NWA Empower recently, and kind of they didn't even mention it. I think that was a bit of a missed opportunity.
I don't even think the fact that Kiara Hogan, I do agree. I mean, and I was telling that to my roommate, like how they had put up with Jade Cargill, I think the Rampage of that week, and she lost to Jade Cargill very quickly. I'm like, you're putting Kiara Hogan, who's a veteran already, she's been in the business for a while, former Impact Knockouts Tag Team Champion, not once but twice, and you bring her in, and it looks like they don't even want her in there. So why even have her in the? She got eliminated too quick, and I agree with that.
Well, the Hearts were next, and Thunder Rosa, Penelope Ford, Rio, Jamie Hayter with Big Swole. Rio got a great reaction, didn't expect to be eliminated. Rosa lost some of her buzz as well. In the space, Tay Conti, Red Velvet, Layla Hirsch, and Jade Cargill with Rebel. And then Ruby Soho was the Joker, and Cargill looked impressive while I was delivering the Gorilla Press Slam that sent Hirsch to the floor. She's lucky she had nipple pads as well because they were all over the place at that point. Hayter powered opponents out of the ring while I was in Velvet, and he rivaled Soho. That drew the biggest reaction of the match as the fans in Chicago embraced her. Rose held Cargo at the end to the short-lived union. She had a Conte to enlist to eliminate competitors, leaving her up against Soho and Rosa. Rose sent Nyla packing, drop kicking the former world champion to the floor. A tense battle on the ring apron then ended with Soho kicking Rosa to the floor and booking a date with Brit Baker. What were your thoughts on this?
This was a pretty decent, very decent battle royal because some people don't like women wrestling, and some people won't be invested in watching the Casino Royale. Because I have heard a lot of people, I don't like battle royals, and this is. The reason was because I wanted to see who was the Joker. We both knew probably it was going to be Ruby Riott or Ruby Soho now, no. But I wanted to see the order of who was coming in, who was not. I was surprised to see Abaddon. I haven't seen Abaddon in God knows how long. And then I know that Sky Blue chick, I know they were everybody wanted her to be part of the Battle Royal, because she was from Chicago. I think, if you want to put someone native from the city, you cannot have it in the Battle Royal get eliminated first. She was the first one getting eliminated. I was like, what the hell's going on with that? Abaddon, I don't know why they had her there. I mean, I haven't seen this girl God knows how long. The rest of the crowd in there, it was interesting. I love what happened with Nyla Rose and Jada Cargill. Nyla Rose eliminated Jada Cargill, and yeah, Cargill was having a problem with her ring gear. Her breasts were all over the place and whatnot. But the fact that Ruby Soho came out, this is the part I think I loved out of all the whole battle royal was Ruby Soho coming out. You could tell that when she came out, she felt relief that everybody was going crazy for her, and I like her gear. And then the backstage, the runaway, where it's supposed to show you, I got to run away from all that nonsense I was in WWE and in catering, and now I'm here. Now I could be me, So I like the reaction she got from that. I love what AEW did. They left her there with Thunder Rosa, which I know a lot of people probably be like, oh, what the hell? A WWE VJ goes and takes out Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa had a great match with Brit Baker. But no, it's about storyline. It's about story. Now, it's the same thing that Adam Page is doing right now. They're doing it with Thunder Rosa. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They're giving her legs. So she wrestles whoever and gets into a feud with Jay Cargill, Nyla Rose, whatever. And at the end, she's going to end up meeting Britt Baker down the line. May not be this year, maybe the beginning of next year. But the fact that they gave it to Ruby Soho also tells you that it's like it's like telling WWE, look, we may not have the best roster. We may not have the best roster as far as AEW as quality wise, but we're building and we will give anyone an opportunity. Doesn't matter if they were in catering 5 years. We're gonna give an opportunity. We're gonna show you how we do our stuff here.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think Soho did save this match after being placed after the tag match. I think anything after that would be trouble. I still, like I said, Rosa maybe shouldn't, but hopefully bigger picture. Like you talked about, Adam Page is a perfect example of someone Thunder Rosa with that kind of momentum. Out of 5, it was all right. I'm going to give it 3.5 because Soho and Rosa at the end kind of saved it. What would you score it?
Yeah, same thing, 3.5. They I guess, I think this is one of their best, probably one of the best. I'm going to say one of the best battle royal they have with the women. I think the first one they ever did was the best one. And that was in 2019, I think, in Double or Nothing. The first year they did Double or Nothing. And it was cool because at least they made their hometown hero, Sky Blue, come in, even though she was eliminated first. But also, there was a storyline being built already there, as far as now you're going to have Nyla Rose and Jada Cargill probably going to have a face-off somewhere down the line. So we'll see. I mean, we just got to watch and see what happens. I mean, and like I said, it was 3.5. It was pretty good.
Yeah, and also they were singing Ruby Soho's theme, which is always a good sign. Prediction, all Ruby is a Joker. And we went, as two of us went Rosa, Jackson went Conti, so it's still 5-4-4 with predictions, or 5-5-4 even, sorry. And poll-wise, Rosa got 39%, Joker was 37%, and Cargill 18%. And then next, I've kind of forgotten about this, even in the couple of days afterwards. Here we go. Up next, Chris Jericho versus MJF. If Jericho loses, he will not wrestle in AEW again. We get MJF's entrance, start with tease that it was Jericho coming out because they played a version of the countdown clock that was shown for Jericho's WWE debut. Jericho had a live rendition of his theme played by Billy Gray from Fozzy. Great, but the crowd manipulation from MJF, I think, was really good. I think the Fozzy guitarist enjoyed it more than the fans did because he was playing a bit too fast for them to sing along. Slow it down a little bit.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell are you doing? Like, I was like, he's messing it up.
Well, here we go into the match. A 5-foot man, the demo god, took the fight to the stands and attempted to pummel the hill into the oblivion. Wise beyond his years, low MJF exploited an opening target at the arm of his opponent. He dominated the action, delivered a heat seeker onto the ring apron that nearly ended his rival's career. An avalanche Liger bomb from MJF halted Jericho's momentum, but further injured the loudmouth's heel lower back. As Jericho delivered a code breaker, Wardlow went to the arena, but was fended off by Jake Hager. Distraction allowed MJF to blast his foe with Floyd, the baseball bat. He followed up the Judas effect and pinned the veteran for free. Despite the Hall of Famer competitor draping his foot on the bottom rope, referee Paul Turner arrived, informed Aubrey Edwards of an error in the match was restarted. The demo god escaped an armbar and applied the walls of Jericho. The talk of the lower back was insufferable, and the MJF tapped out. The inner circle celebrated with Jericho after the match. What were your thoughts on this?
The match was good, and the ending part was like kind of confusing because I'm like, since when the referees, this is the first time ever I saw in AEW that a referee comes in and tries to like say, oh no, this guy did this in the match or whatever. So I said to myself, there's no way that MJF's gonna win. But then I see this, and I'm like, oh shit, what happened here? You know. But is it me, or is the Pinnacle not being a group anymore? Like the Warlord comes out by himself, and I'm like, you know, if you're trying to be this faction where you're trying to get wins the cheap way, whatever, like the whole Four Horsemen back in the days, you would do stuff where, how you call it, where, you know, you will distract the referee, another one guy comes in, hits him with a title belt, whatever, and, you know, but we're not seeing that. And I'm saying to myself, where is Jericho's Inner Circle guys? You know, because nowhere in the match it said that the Inner Circle guys cannot get in, you know? So that was a part that I was like a little bit questioning about it. Like, why are the Pinnacles not around? Why is it in a circle? Only Warlord comes out. But see, when I asked those questions, the following week they probably pretty much tell you why they're doing it. So I have a feeling after this match that Warlord and MJF is gonna have a fallout. But let's talk about this match. This match was pretty good. You know, I think this one was way better than the Labors of Jericho, the last match that they had. I don't know if it was because of time, but this match was way better. Jericho looked more relaxed, even though MJF, you know, did his little cheap shot stuff or whatever. But this match was pretty good, except the ending of the match where they went and they restarted the match, and I'm like, okay, you know, I guess they don't want Jericho to leave because they don't want him in the commentary stuff. I'll give this match, compared to the first one they had, I'll give it 3 3/4. Could have been a little better, but it was much better than the last labor, the 5 labors of Jericho.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of had enough of this feud, and I didn't think it needed to be on. I kind of think it didn't need to be on pay-per-view because we've seen it so many times. But Jericho did look good. I mean, what the fuck was that with that finish? Because you're never going to see it again. Like, I hate it, you know, because it's just stupid. The referees don't get involved. We haven't got replays. Why do that? The fans set it up, don't get me wrong, and Jericho should have got the win that he should have done a month ago. And MJF still got that future tag, you know, so it'll be interesting, like you said, and what we see in Dynamite with Wardlow. Not too bad. I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5 for me. The predictions, you all went Jericho, so it's 6-6-5 still. Poll wise, Jericho 80%. And then a match I think most people were looking forward to was CM Punk versus Darby Allen. And that was next. And for the first time, that's January 2014, CM Punk competed in a pro wrestling match. The entrances, the atmosphere, the intensity of which the combatants approached the contest reflected that sentiment too. Punk is now wearing long tights, and I think he was in quite good shape. I don't think I've been excited for an AEW match, like any AEW match. To see CM Punk come back, I think a lot of people would have bought this pay-per-view and they'd be watching Dynamite for the past couple of weeks just because of CM Punk. That would be fair to say, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, because, you know, we're talking about a guy who's been out of wrestling for 7 years, you know, and everybody wanted him back, you know, and he pretty much, you know, delayed it. I mean, and I understand why he delayed it, because he didn't want to come back to a company where it's going to only last for like a couple of maybe a year, maybe 6 months, and then he's out of a job again. So, I mean, you know, I would say, you know, you have to do what's best for yourself. You're not going to jump on a company, but like he said on the interview, it was the Brody Lee situation, the memorial to what they did, that brought him in to do what he had to do, you know. And I mean, and even though I was expecting to come out with the shorts and the knee pads and whatever, you know, but it was nice to see him be in that ring. You could tell he's a little heavy, but then again, this guy's been out of wrestling for 7 years. He still looked good. I mean, and the match itself was good.
Well, we got a cheer at the bell when Punk weathered the early storm and cut Allen down with an Irish whip. That sent his opponent crashing into the ring post. He manhandled his opponent from there, consulting him into the abdominal stretch made famous by Wilbur Schneider, rocking him with a running knee in the corner and flattening him with a clothesline. Resilient Allen fought back by throwing his body around the ring. He rocked the best in the world with a flipping senton. Punk suckered his rival in the foul coffin drop. Quickly found himself fighting out the Last Supper pin. Allen tried for the poison runner, but Punk countered into the go-to-sleep, put his pin full victory. What were your thoughts on it then?
Man, let me tell you something. The match was everything that you expected. The match was, again, I'm going to keep saying it because my roommate pretty much reminded me. He said, you see AEW now, a lot of these wrestlers are not going at 120 miles per hour in the match. Darby Allen is one of those guys that when he's in the match, and I'm sure you want to impress the fans, whatever, but they took their time in that wrestling match, going hold to hold. Then you can see that Darby was showing his little, chain wrestling skill. That at one point he arm dragged CM Punk, letting him know, look, you may not be rated for this. But at the end, he did everything he can. CM Punk caught up with the GTS. And, I would like to see another match between them two. But this time, one of them got to be Ew, Yeah. Or you don't even have to do that. They prove they don't have to be, no one has to be heel as long as there's a good match. So we'll see if they have another match. I'll give this match, I'll say a 3 3/4. And again, I think because of the time and how many matches went in that pay-per-view, I think they could have put a little longer, but at 3 3/4, I'll give it to. I would like to give it a 4, but the time. That's just what it is. The time.
Yeah, this was a slow burner. Punk needs to kind of find his groove, working at a slower pace to begin with. Obviously, people are comparing it to Bret Hart versus 1-2-3 Kid as well. But maybe they're taking a couple of moments. But there's no point paying homage to a match like that. Really nice closing sequence as well. Like I said, Darby did well. I think it's the first time Chicago chanting an opponent's name versus Punk. I cannot remember that in any other way. And that's credit to Darby Allen. And like we talk about with CM Punk, it's all well and good, but just wait until CM Punk's kind of heel run. That is going to be money, at the moment. He's still good as a place, but.
And that when he's at if he does the heel stuff, his pipe bombs are coming. Yeah. That's what I look forward to. The pipe bombs, they come. Even now when he's a fan favorite, and no matter what, whether he's heel or not in Chicago, he's a favorite. But when he does his pipe bombs, it's just great. And now he's going to probably start feuding with Team Taz. I'm telling you right now, a Ricky Starks versus CM Punk, that's going to be another classic.
Well, I tell you that another thing I really, really liked about this, obviously with Punk and Allen, but Sting coming down afterwards and shaking CM Punk's hand, and then Punk shaking Darby Allen's hand. Like you said, the 3 generations of wrestlers there, and the way they did it, I think was really, really nice. And Darby Allen, this is what you talk about when you go against a star, you lose nothing in defeat. If anything, Allen will be enhanced by this. Out of 5 for me, I'm going to give it 4 1/4, just because I never thought I'd see CM Punk wrestle again, and I'm just glad it wasn't Goldberg level. Do you know what I mean? It's nice.
God.
It's nice.
You're leaving a better taste in my mouth now. You mean Oldberg, not Goldberg.
Oldberg, yeah. Well, predictions for this, we all went Punk, so 7-7-6 there at the moment. Poll-wise, Punk, 83%. And Commentary hypes up Full Gear, which will be live Saturday, November 13th. Now, I know we've got Survivor Series the week after, and of course, we've got Halloween special, which I hope you're a part of. But I was thinking maybe Saturday, November 3rd, we do, we did the SummerSlam live pre-show. What about if we do the Full Gear? What about if we do a Full Gear live pre-show that day?
That sounds good. That's what, Saturday? You're going to do it Saturday? Yeah, definitely, because, when it comes to AEW, or anything with professional wrestling, I'm down with. Now, WWE, I don't know about that. But anyway.
Well, we know where our next couple of special shows are, shall we say. And up next, after being built up with CM Punk, we had to kind of be brought down a little bit, and it was Paul White versus Cutie Marshall. And Marshall had Alan Solo, Nick Camarado in his corner. They were sent over the top by White, and then the match got started. And of course, Paul White in his first pay-per-view appearance, right after CM Punk, it lacked a little bit of spark. It did not exceed expectations, shall we say. White dominated the leader of the Factory and Stooges, Alan Solo, Nick Camarado, and got the Chokeslam with the 3 count. What were your thoughts? Did he draw the short straw? Was this match always going to take place here? And Big Show, doesn't he seem like a small fish now in a massive in a massive sea?
He looks slow. I'll tell you that much. I I think it was a good match, and I don't mean the quality of it. I think it was a good match to put in to calm down the fans, because I'm talking about the last two matches were what we talk about: Darby, CM Punk. Then you had the Casino Battle Royal, and then you had the AEW Tag Team Title match. You're talking about you had 3 matches that had the fans, like going crazy. You know what I'm saying? Because the Lucha Bros winning the tag team title, Ruby Soul making her debut. Then you had the the CM Punk match. Actually the MJF match too, also with Jericho. So that was a lot of stuff going on for the fans that you didn't want to burn them out by the time the main event showed up. I think the reason they gave the Paul White his match probably because he wanted to have a match in AEW. Say, look, I was in a match in an AEW pay-per-view, because if you think about it, leading to this match, QT Marshall, kind of try to bully Paul White with the medical stuff, whatever. But remember, the Go Home show, Billy Gunn and the Gun Club turned on Paul White. I was expecting those guys to be there. They weren't there. So I guess they probably figured, like, we could always probably use this little feud in Elevation on Dark, I don't see that probably popping out as far as Dynamite, maybe in Rampage. But the only reason they had this match, one, to calm down the fans, and second, just to give Paul White some kind of, pay-per-view time and show WWE, look, this guy is still wrestling for us. And yes, it may not be the greatest match, but he's on TV.
Yeah, without that. Well, I'm going to give that a 3 out of 5. I think that'll be a fair score.
Yeah, I think, I'm going to give it 2.5, to be honest. Because there was nothing, it was nothing to even write down about. It was just total domination by Paul White. Nick Camarado needs to stay away from QT Marshall. That guy, Nick Camarado, had a great match with Jon Moxley a couple of months ago. He reminds me of Bruiser Brody. He reminds me of the Nord the Barbarian. He has a lot of skills. I mean, his whole body of work and everything, he's good. But they got him with QT Marshall. I understand he's part of a faction, he's part of the factory. But, you don't want to make a guy like that with so much potential look bad because he's hanging out with the wrong crowd.
Well, prediction-wise, yourself and Jackson went for QT Marshall in this one. I went for Paul White, so I draw level.
Shit, everything is tied.
It's 7-7-7 going into our main event. Poll-wise, Paul White got 81%. We got told that Moxley versus Suzuki will be on Dynamite. Again, what a match was. And then Malachi Black cut a promo where he tells Dustin Rhodes don't want to be calm because Matter is more predictable, more likely is to slip up again. Malachi Black absolutely destroying Dustin Rhodes on Dynamite, but we found out that Cody Rhodes will be coming back to fight him, of course, in just a couple of weeks on Dynamite.
Yeah, I'll be in that event live, and that's in New York. So
that's unbelievable.
Oh yes, brother. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna enjoy every minute of it. So I can say I actually went to an AEW Dynamite show. So but yeah. So I mean, so far that's got that one match in there for the card. My thing is, it looks like Malachi Black has gone through the whole Nightmare factory or Nightmare family, whatever you want to call it. So why would you bring back Cody Rhodes to do what? Is he going to come back? He's been teasing that. I don't know if you've seen it. He's been teasing. Remember he used to do the Stardust? He's been teasing it a lot online. I don't know why. And I'm hoping to God that he doesn't come out with some crazy shit because I don't be like, what? Malachi Black, and I love Malachi Black entrance. And I mean, his match with Dustin Rhodes this week was pretty good. But, we'll see. We'll see what happens, though.
Right, so now we move on. It's the main event of the night, the AEW World Heavyweight Championship match, Kenny Omega versus Christian Cage. So let's get into it. We get an early flurry by Cage, who negated when Omega capitalized on Don Callis, distracted the referee, and delivered a double stomp that broke a table over his opponent's sternum and midsection. From there, the champion dominated the action, forcing Captain Charisma on the defensive. Cage fought back into the match, but the belt collector halted the momentum with a knee strike to the face. He had a V-trigger to the back of the head and a snapdragon suplex, then another snapdragon and a third. Another V-trigger obliterated the challenger. Christian somehow recovered and delivered a spear through a table, an emphatic announcement to Omega and the AEW fans that he's not going away easily. The title holder survived 2 more spears and delivered a ripcord V-trigger. Christian answered with a kill switch, and Omega just kicked out. At that point, I thought, they're not going to do it, are they? No, again, fantastic near fall. And the champion recovered, fought out an attempted kill switch from the top rope, and delivered a one-winged angel off the top for the win. And I thought, well, this, before I get your thoughts, I thought, have an Impact champion lose to Kenny Omega. And I love the fact it wasn't just a one-winged angel. Even though that is a protected finisher, it's off the top rope, which made it even better. What were your thoughts on the match or the finish?
The finish was good because you protected the Impact World Champion, which that's what you should do. The fact that there was outside interference that helps the Impact World Champion. The one-wing angel from the top pretty much protects the champion because you don't want to have Omega pinning the Impact World Champion easily with no outside interference, no crazy move, just a regular one-wing angel, because then, now Impact's title don't mean nothing, because remember, this is a working relationship. I mean, this match was pretty good. It was pretty good. It was everything that you expected. Was it better than the first match? Maybe slightly less than the first match. I think the first match you didn't expect Christian Cage to pin him, but overall the finish was good. I like the way he did one-wing angel from the top rope. I mean that was crazy. And just for Christian even taking that bump, you got to give him credit, because this guy's isn't past his 40s, and for him to take a bump like that, it's crazy. And again, that protects Christian. The match itself, I will give it a 3 3/4, maybe a 4, because it was pretty good. And again, they protected Kenny Omega. It protected Christian because of the outside interference and the last move that Kenny Omega did to Christian. So, but I knew he wasn't going to beat him, because they were not going to get the AEW title to Christian and whatnot. But they could have done that though. They could have done that. They could have done that where Christian would have beat Kenny Omega, go to Impact on Thursday with the AEW title, and then make it more interesting. But they're not doing that, because I think there's going to be more stuff going on. But we'll talk about it after we finish here.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, in the match, they knew you had to start fast. We've seen the Cage match. They saw CM Punk's come back, and they thought, right, we're going to have to start fast in this one. The ref was terrible, but we'll just leave it there at that. Referee in AEW is probably the only kind of negative that you could, look at. Omega slipping a state you don't see every day, but he recovered really well. Christian's timing in ring and with the move to AEW as well was perfect, Also still with the Impact now as champion. This was excellent, both showing what they can do. Like I said, great for Christian to do special finisher. Out of 5, I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 5, because I just thought after everything we've seen, I was still getting invested in it. And like I said, that kill switch, and I thought they're not actually going to do it, and they didn't in the end, but that's what gets you off your chair, so to speak, Yeah,
I mean, when he hit the kill switch and Kenny Omega got up, right there it told you he was not losing the belt. Now the question was how Kenny Omega was going to, end Christian's night. And then again, the Elite coming out and trying to do outside interference and all that stuff. That's what makes it good, because when people don't understand, people are like, oh, I hate Omega, he's always cheating. That is his job. He's a heel. He has to cheat. They call themselves the Super Elite for a reason. They claim they're the best. They're gonna do everything possible to hold on to the belt. Why you think Don Callis has, if there was manager of the year right now between him and Paul Heyman, I would give it to Don Callis for the simple fact that he has done so many crooked shit this year when it comes to with Kenny Omega, with the Young Bucks, and even Gallows and Anderson. He's always doing something with plans. And just when you think, like, before the Young Bucks lost the belt, just when you think that the Young Bucks are going to lose, he always found ways. This is what a faction is supposed to do. That's why I talk about the Pinnacle, and this is why I talk about the Inner Circle. The Elite right now, if you look at it, it's taken over as far as the top faction in the whole AEW. So, But again, I like the finish. I like the way they protected both champions. And, who knows? Down the line, another match. I would love to watch them again.
Exactly, because you can always argue it's 1-1 at this moment in time as well. We all went Omega low predictions, final scores. 8-8-8. It is a draw. 8 out of 10 low predictions. Like I said, we all got the Women's Battle Royal winner wrong. And of course, with a tag match review. And Cutie Marshall, I think, is just, like we said, with the Billy Gunn, with the heel turn, the pole wise.
Yeah. And the reason I say QT Marshall, because I was expecting Billy Gunn to pop out. He didn't show. He wasn't even in the show.
That's exactly what Jaxie said as well, as we were kind of running through it, and this is the thing, sometimes they put something there, and again, it's just minor little things for AEW, but again, overall, that show, top to bottom, 1 to 10 was great. Poll-wise, Omega was 74%, but that wasn't it, because the rest of the Elite walked out to celebrate with Omega. The attack Christian and Jurassic Park ran out, but they were outnumbered. Omega grabbed the mic and said, no one is on his level when it comes to the AEW belt. The only people that would ever have a chance to win it are not in AEW, or already retired or dead. And the lights went out. And then Adam Cole walked out.
Baby.
Adam Cole, baby. And just we weren't sure what he was going to do. Super kicked Jungle Boy. Cole then hugged the Elite. He grabbed the mic and said the Elite is the most dominant faction in business. There's no chance in hell that someone could stop them. At that point, because I know the rumours have been a lot, but when Adam Cole comes out, I mean, what a surprise. And I'm thinking, well, that's it now. It's just another level,
Oh, my God. When Adam Cole came out, and I'm one that, I'm a big Adam Cole fan. When he did Adam Cole, baby, everybody just going with him. I'm like, he's not turning on the Elite. He's going to be part of the Elite. Listen, with him in there, I pretty much said, look, take my money. Take my money. Because there's no way in the world that WWE is going to surpass that. You just let go one of your top talent in NXT. Okay, a former two-time NXT champion. A guy who had the best run as an NXT champion from 2019 to 2020. And now he's in AEW. You got Daniel Bryan, you got Andrade, you got who else is in there? CM Punk. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, the amount of talent that AEW has, and now you add Adam Cole, and then you add him into the Elite. It's like, it's crazy. It's like, I'm like, who's gonna beat this faction? They begin to look like the NWO now. So
yeah, at that point, and especially with the kisses, when the Bucks kissed Adam Cole as well, you're going, this is an iconic moment of the Elite being stronger than ever have been. And like I said, AEW fans haven't maybe been jealous of NXT fans, but how long have they been waiting to say Adam Cole, baby? Because like you said, that charm was something else, and we thought, well, what an end to a show. And then the lights went out again, and Bryan Danielson showed up, and a brawl broke out with Danielson on the babyface side, taking out the Elite with the help of Jurassic Express and Christian. As the fans go fucking banana, as Pat Patterson would say. This may be the greatest end to a pay-per-view that I've ever seen. Just incredible. You think Adam Cole surprised, and then Bryan Danielson. What were your reaction when Danielson showed up?
Oh, man. I mean, when it is funny because all night I'm expecting him to show up because they already had mentioned that he was going to come out. And I'm like, when is he going to come out? And once I heard his music, I was like, oh, my God. This is great. This is like, I looked like a little boy, like when I was watching wrestling back in the days, I get all excited and whatnot. And I'm like, there's no way. Listen, the thing I'm going to say about this right now is like, what other person they're going to bring in now? They got the biggest talent of wrestling in there, okay? And I'm like, how? And the first thing that comes into my mind, I know a lot of people are like, oh, why are you worrying about WWE and this and that? Since you're not a WWE fan, you a hater, whatever. But my thing is, how can WWE top that? There's no way you're gonna top that because they got almost all the talents that were in the independent scene 6 years ago. Okay, in 2014. Around 2014, that's when I started watching and getting wrestling, Ring of Honor, and all. You had guys like Kevin Owens coming out of Ring of Honor to go to NXT. You had Adam Cole. You had Bobby Fish. You had AJ Styles. You had all these guys that right now some of them on AEW. You know, Daniel Bryan was already in WWE, but he was having his run. You know, and you got guys who already made themselves a name in the independent scene, went to WWE. Now they in AEW with it. Now they could go back to professional wrestling. I mean, there's no way that you know, you can't complain about this. You as a wrestling fan, you cannot complain with the amount of talent that the AEW has right now. You know, and then you got the forbidden door, James. We're talking about the forbidden door. Well, you got guys from the NWA who roll in there. You got guys from New Japan that could roll in there. It's crazy the amount of dream matches that we could see. You know, man, who ever thought about that? And you know, it's funny because a year ago, Tony Khan made a comment in Twitter. I believe it was in Twitter where he said I think it was the terrain's about to change. All right. Everybody was talking about, oh, it's Kenta showing up in AEW. No, that means he already had this plan a long time ago. He knew there was going to be a forbidden door. He knew all these talents were going to come and show up at AEW. I mean, it's crazy. Now, it's just about now is how to use all these talents. Because I know Brian Cage's wife was on Twitter and was not happy with the way they're treating Brian Cage at AEW, which I agree because I think Brian Cage should be in the world title hunt, and I want to see that Brian Cage against Kenny Omega, machine versus machine. But it could happen. It could happen.
But the thing is that we talked about this with Lance Archer as well, and Orange Cassidy maybe not as high up as he was. What Adam Page, Thunder Rosa. Like I said, it's where you get all this stacked talent. It's how to handle it. But the thing is, what we said, and we reviewed the AEW papers this year, and we were disappointed by the end of Omega versus Moxley, you know, with the kind of damp squid of the barbed wire and the Jericho fall off the, you know, blood and guts as well. But they've this show just kind of delivered and all, you know. And I keep thinking, what's the greatest pay-per-view I've watched all time? Probably WrestleMania 17, you know. And this one, on a level of, you know, of that, it's just, if you look back on it, all 10 matches, you know, even the ones that weren't that great were kind of over. They knew it. The Battle Royal itself kind of delivered, you know, and you had a classic tag team match as well. It was just fantastic. What the match of the night was obviously a tag team title match. I think that'd be fair to say, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I would say yes, because again, every time you mention that match, I still see Matt Jackson hitting his head on the canvas with that Canadian Destroyer. That match, yes. And again, the whole pay-per-view, the way they started it, the buyout wasn't as boring like they usually are. The fact you saw Riho back, which was funny because I was wondering, what the hell is Riho at? I haven't seen that in a long time. She showed up at the Battle Royal. The tag team match was the match of the night, pretty much. And I think, again, I mean, people are going to say, oh, the Paul White was not all that. Well, the Paul White was just all about having him be in the pay-per-view and pretty much letting WWE saying, look, we got one of your guys here, and he's wrestling in our pay-per-view. You give everybody a chance. So
the thing with Paul White as well is the fact that it's not the hardcore wrestling fan go, oh, you know, it's Paul White, it's a big show. But anybody that's watched WWE television over the last 20 years, just flick it on, who hasn't seen it in a while, will go, oh, he's over here now. And like you talk about, perception is key, isn't it? You know? Yeah,
and then I think the person who I saw that enjoyed the moment, besides CM Punk, enjoyed the moment coming out was Ruby Soho, because she looked like she got emotional, and I was happy to see that not only that she participated in the Battle Royal, but then the ending, her and Thunder Rosa, one of the biggest names in wrestling right now, to end it, and her winning everything, and now she's getting a shot at Brit Baker. It goes to show you that AEW is serious, man. They're not playing games. If they're gonna get these people, they're gonna try to, you know, put them in some show. Well, you're talking about these guys had 4 shows, not just 2. They got 4 shows. 2 of them, you know, is really pretty much to elevate the younger talent, but they could still put somebody in there and they could promote it. Let's say a Brian Cage versus whoever, if he's not going to come out AEW Dynamite. But listen, I mean, their talent is just right now. They got the best talent stack overall, and again with that Forbidden Door in there now. Come on, this is a good time to be a professional wrestling fan.
Oh, that is the best of times. Right, so my pick is going to be a bit, whatever, but I'm going to say everybody on that roster because everybody went out and just delivered. Even like you said, the Battle Royale or Paul White, at least they gave 100%, A for effort, shall we say,
Listen, the MVP or the MVPs of the night for me is the Lucha Bros. I mean, these guys, they took a lot of bumps, and then just having thumbtacks attached to your head, it's crazy. So I'll give the Lucha Bros MVP of the night for overcoming the obstacles and all that. And Masberg, I mean, and it was very touching to see Penta hug his daughter and his wife. I mean, that touched me because it's like I got kids, and just seeing that your kid, his daughter was crying because he was bleeding. So that really touched me too. So I mean, this pay-per-view was amazing. I mean, it's like there's no other words to explain it. It's like even if Full Gear is not going to be as great as All Out, but All Out is their WrestleMania. So they made up for what happened in 2020. They made it up big time. And that was our first review last year, the 2020 All Out. This, I'm glad that a year later here we're doing it, and we're here excited because I remember when we first did last year, we were just scratching our heads with the Matt Hardy falling off from the damn thing with Sammy Guevara and all that stuff, and Matt Sydal slipping from the ropes. I still remember that. It was just, it was horrible. But
it's crazy to think, it's the same. For where they've gone from one year to the next is just. It takes other companies, 10, 15 years for that, it's just amazing. And we're going to get overall rating for the show in a minute. I asked everyone, how did they? It was probably one of the easiest polls of all time. Okay was 17%, a bit surprised that. That's probably the WWE stands anyway. Good 3.4%. Great 10.3%. Awesome got 69% of the vote, and even Anthony Bourne said, now you know why SummerSlam sucked as well. So 69% said awesome. So out of 10, what are you going to score it?
I'm going to give it a 9.5. If that Paul White match was not in there, you would include Pac and Andrade. Oh my God, that would have been a perfect 10. I'm telling you, it would have been a perfect 10. I usually my ratings usually be in the 7.5 to the 8, maybe a 9. I'll give it a 9.5. It would have been a 10 if that Pac and Andrade. Matter of fact, that's where you should have put the Pac and Andrade's match between the Paul White and the QT Marshall match. But I guess they wanted to give it more time than give it like what they gave to the Paul White and QT Marshall match.
Well, like you said, I'm going to give it a 9.75 out of 10 because I've reviewed so many pay-per-views the past 6 years. With takeovers always score high. This might be my highest scoring show that we've actually done on the pod because, like you said, everything was near enough perfect with this one. And even with the bouts that happened afterwards, the pacing of the show was fantastic. And the thing is, with the fans and even myself, I don't know about you, but even as the show was finishing, you had to stand off between your elite. I'll just join them. And fans always say they want a surprise on pay-per-view. We had 4, 5 happen at All Out. You had the elite with the Bucks who were there, even though they lost the gold, haven't lost anything in defeat. With Christian and Bryan Danielson in the middle of a fucking AEW ring. The fans chanting AEW, and you're going, I want to see more. The fans could have sat there for another hour watching it. I went and watched Dark. That's how desperate I was for more AEW stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's just great things at the moment,
Yeah, and that goes to show you. I went to bed hyper, and I usually I'll be wrestled out after a while, but this pay-per-view was just, oh my God. And I want to record it for one of my friends because I owe him Double or Nothing, which I still got on my DVR that I need to record also. But, because he follows AEW, but he just had a kid, so he hasn't had a chance to watch the whole thing. And I just want to share that. And, I'm all for it, but, it's funny that some people try to kill your happiness with the trolls online and tell you this, but you know what? This time you can't tell me nothing right now. Nothing. This right now, when we're talking about the stuff that's happening and with there may be a possibility with this Forbidden Door, a Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay match, okay? Because these guys were going back and forth. I don't know if you want to talk about this PWL 500 stuff, the 1 to 10 list, but right now, you can imagine a Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay in AEW. Think about that. I just want you to think about that. I want you to marinate it and think about that. Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega in an AEW match. Because these two have been going at it since the PWL 500 came out. And Omega says that the New Japan promotion is ice cold since he left. You know, he's doing his best Kenny Omega, a-hole thinking, whatever. But man, let me tell you, man. You know what? I cannot wait because I know we're going to have more AEW stuff and we're going to be talking about the possibilities. I mean, there's so many dream matches in AEW right now. So many.
The thing for me, what I thought as well, and I know I'm obviously a bit close, and I thought, do you know what? In 2022, we're going to see Josh Alexander versus Bryan Danielson. And it's going to be fucking just beautiful. Do you know what I mean? Just
well, before that, and I was kind of a little disappointed when I heard the news about Bound for Glory, the start of it, which is start at 10 o'clock here, Easter time, because it's in Vegas. Josh Alexander versus Miro, title versus title. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. Okay.
It's just fun. It's just. I can't remember last time we watched wrestling. We're going, I enjoy the program that's on, and you go to bed, or like you said, you stop it and you think about all these matches and all the possibilities and all this, all this kind of thing as well. And it's great. And to hear Danielson as well, he cut a promo after the pay-per-view went off the air. He says, I'm a wrestler. I never left wrestling. I took wrestling whenever I went. I said, wrestling supposed to say it, and now I'm here to goddamn wrestle. These people call themselves elite. I'm going to see if they truly are. So AEW, let's fucking go. I mean, how exciting is that to hear, you know?
Yeah, I mean, because I guess, he was in WWE for so long, and then I think they doctors tried to stop him from being in the ring. And I think it was more of Daniel Bryan was getting bigger than the company, and they didn't want him to get bigger than the company because that's McMahon's thinking pattern, And that's where they at right now, because they don't allow anybody to be bigger than the company. And Daniel Bryan right now, he could match up with anybody. I mean, the guy could go to Japan and put it this way. He could go to Japan, or somebody from Japan could come to AEW. You could have a Kenta versus Daniel Bryan. That would be sick. That would be a sick match. Kenta versus Daniel Bryan. Ishii Toshimori against Daniel Bryan. You could have a Jay White versus Daniel Bryan. I mean, the matchups are endless, And you know what? I'm so happy in a way. And right now, talking about it, I'm so happy that I do a podcast, that I'm able to share some of this stuff to everybody, because this is a good time to be a wrestler. And I'm going to tell you a little story here. About 8 years ago, this is way before I did the podcast, whatever, Impact was going through the stages where this Carter letting AJ go. And I remember me and my roommate were like, damn, what's going to happen now that wrestling sucks and I don't want to watch WWE. And we weren't watching WWE or Impact. But again, the guy that I always said that made wrestling interesting again was CM Punk and that pipe bomb. Because after that pipe bomb, you saw Ring of Honor didn't get their shit together. And then the Bullet Club started coming in within 2013, 2014. And the rest is history. So, people were just tired of WWE. I mean, they were controlled for almost 18 years, 19 years. And that's a different story. This is, listen, you cannot ask for a better time with the matchup of Forbidden. This reminds me of the territories back in the days. Because anybody could show up.
This is the thing, and I felt a bit like, when I watch kind of old WCW papers like Sting coming down and taking out the NWO, or like, Lex Luger winning the world title. Like, this is one of these moments that they're going to look back on 20 years time or 10 years time and go, when was AEW and when did it start? Where were these moments? And this is a moment in history. It's history. Yeah, and that's I think what's brilliant about it. That is, the media scums are well worth watching after as well. I mean, he even took them in. And we wondered about the buy rate, and it topped 200,000 as well. And there's a big milestone that they obviously not hit. But they're saying that's a low end. Obviously, the thing about All Out as well is that the replays, people going, they missed that show. They weren't going to miss it the second time round.
No, they weren't. And I think
delivered.
I think their pay-per-view buy rate was the second best they ever had. I think. I'm not sure. I think that was the second best buy rate that they had. So, I mean, AEW is doing everything right now. If you think about it, right now, Wednesdays, the rating came in for this past Wednesday, and they had over 1 million mark again, and they did better than Raw. In the 18 to 49, and I believe the 34 to 59. They did pretty well. They topped Raw. So that goes to show you, if they keep going the same way they're going, they're gonna let WWE know we're competition. You just want to think we're not competition. We're that T-shirt company that Triple H called AEW back in 2019 at the Hall of Fame. So they're that T-shirt company that's making noise, a lot of noise.
Yeah, but how many T-shirts are they selling? CM Punk, sold out 24 hours. They've got new Adam, All Elite Baby T-shirt. You got Bryan Danielson's T-shirt, Ruby. So for a T-shirt company, they're doing very good fucking business. Like I said, Dynamite was fun as hell as well. Highlight, of course, Danielson and May coming to blows. Like to talk about 1.3 million people and beating Raw, like I said, in the 18 to 49. Absolutely unbelievable. And as for Rampage, Andrade versus Pac was fire as well. So
I have not seen that yet.
I'm not going to spoil it, but honestly, yeah.
But let's see what I'm telling you. They're giving guys like Brian Pillman Jr., right? Brian Pillman Jr. was the main event last night against Max Caster, right? Now you got Max Caster, who just got suspended for saying something stupid. Now he's in the main event, which it goes to show you, you may be mad at the company because the company suspended you for 30 days for what you say, but you got to also, respect the fact we're a company and we got to keep our image clean. So we'll do this for you. If you stay with us, we'll give you a main event in Rampage. And that's exactly what they did. They gave him a main event in Rampage. But let me tell you, man, it's just, it's incredible. So, do you want to talk about this PWI 500 or what?
Yeah, we're going to get onto that in just a second. Let's just wrap up AEW first, because I just want to ask you one last question. Because at the moment, AEW is in a perfect place. The ratings have hit the perfect point. The attention to it is there, and you just wonder where they're going to kind of grow from here. And you kind of worry how they're going to fuck it up. But I think if you look at the kind of the next couple of pay-per-views, if Adam Page is not on the next pay-per-view, then obviously you go Danielson versus Omega. But I personally, Page beating Omega for that world title, well, that crowd will give the main event that everybody kind of wants, the reaction everybody wants as well, and then you got like Bray Wyatt possibly coming in, anything like this. Obviously, we've done this for a year. Where do you see AEW at this time next year, and where do you think they should be?
Time next year. Ooh.
Yeah, and is there anything that can kind of stop this momentum, or do you just think it's all kind of, aces at this moment in time?
Well, the way if AEW is doing the same style of storytelling like New Japan Pro Wrestling, because it looks like they do that with some of their matches or some of their set of matches, because that's exactly what they're doing with Adam Page. This time next year, I could probably see Adam Cole, maybe the AEW champion. I mean, and depending on what happened, and it depends on the storyline. As far as the tag team scene right now, maybe Santana Ortiz may be tag team champions down the line, because now they're focusing on that. I could see Bryan Danielson going to Japan probably, and maybe guys from Japan coming in. I could see Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay or Kota Ibushi, because he did mention that there could be a match between them two. I mean, right now it's unpredictable, and the reason I say it's unpredictable because they got so much talent. They could go so many routes. As far as again, Adam Cole is there. I don't see Adam Cole getting the TNT belt. I can see him win the AEW title. And the reason I say that is because Adam Cole was main roster. He was supposed to go to the main roster like about a year and a half ago, and then they didn't bring him up. And then when they wanted to bring him the main roster, they wanted to how you call it? Like I said, main event, main roster push, and they didn't, and they wanted to make him a manager. So AEW is always going to show WWE, look, this is what we're doing with one of your guys who is a top talent in your supposedly developmental NXT, and we're going to make him the world champion. But I see Omega losing the belt to Adam Page. Adam Page probably running with it probably through midsummer next year, and Adam Cole probably beating him in All Out.
Yeah, I mean, what a time it is to be a wrestling fan, especially AEW. We have all the momentum in the world. All right, so you want to talk about the PWI 500, of course, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, release the 500 top wrestlers of the year. I'm not even going to talk about Josh Alexander making it to 106th, but top 10. We've got Rich Swann, number 9, Shingo Takagi, 8, Finn Balor, 7, Will Ospreay, 6, Jon Moxley, 5, Kota Ibushi, 3, Drew McIntyre, 3, Bobby Lashley, 2, Roman Reigns, and number 1, Kenny Omega. I said I'm glad Rich Swann made it top 10. I can't really argue. What are your thoughts on that top 10?
Oh, no. Rich Swann should be nowhere in the top 10. Okay? Rich Swann lost that belt, I think, was in April. He did have some good matches with Moose, but that was all because they wanted to set up. I'm going to tell you that a couple of guys here in the top 10 that shouldn't be in there. Number 1, I say Drew McIntyre should not be there. Shingo Takagi should not be in there, and Rich Swann should not be in there. Will Ospreay should be a little higher than Moxley and Kobashi, but even though he deserves the top 10. The reason I say Shingo Takagi should not be in there, even though a lot of people will say, well, he's the IWGP World Champion. Takagi lost to Ospreay, okay? And the only reason he has that belt was because Ospreay got hurt during the match with Takagi and messed up his neck. And Rich Swann, no, I can't with Swann because I think Impact was just pushing him because they really didn't have anybody they could put. They could have pushed Sami Callihan, but Callahan's little run with the world title was pretty much over. They kind of stalled it. Jon Moxley in there. Moxley deserved because he was the champion until December. He lost that belt. How long Rich Swann was the champion in Impact?
October till April. So what, 6 months?
Yeah, well, 6 months. But the competition between him and Moxley, I don't think so. And if anything, Josh Alexander should be in the top 10. Josh Alexander. Yeah. Because the guy, first of all, he went from being a tag team champion with this guy. Oh my God, what's his name?
Ethan Page.
Ethan Page. Yeah, there's so many pages. Ethan Page, and then he went and transformed himself into a single wrestler, and pretty much he's known as the lethal weapon, and he pretty much showed you why he's the lethal weapon. So Rich Swann there, I'll take Josh Alexander over this. Bobby Lashley number 3, that's a joke to me. Bobby Lashley just won the belt past in January from The Miz, so he really didn't beat anybody big for him to be up there. And his run as a champion has not been that fabulous because he had 2 or 3 matches against Drew McIntyre. McIntyre was more of a pandemic champion. And even though they took the belt away from him for 2 months and then gave it back to him. So the Kota Ibushi, yeah, he's there number 5. The only thing I'm kind of surprised that he made the top 10. This guy's always getting hurt. He was out with COVID not long ago. Oh, and it wasn't even COVID. It was some respiratory issue, but it wasn't COVID. Now, Omega, and maybe you're going to agree with me that Kenny Omega won. I could say he deserved the number 1 because he was the AAA and Impact and AEW, and he defended all those belts all that time. Now, Jacob Fatu from Major League Wrestling is not in this list. So is Nick Aldis and Walter. Walter held the belt for 1,000 days. Okay, no one could beat Walter. Okay, I don't care who he stepped in the ring there. He beat everybody. Jacob Fatu, the same thing. Fatu has been in MLW for so long, for 2 or 3 years. The guy still holds the world title, and nobody has beaten. I think right now his biggest threat is Alex Hammerstone, and he's not in this list. And then Nick Aldis. Aldis just lost the belt to Trevor Murdoch, which I found is surprising. But Nick Aldis should. Okay.
I agree, but the thing is with this, I think we need to take it with a pinch of salt, because the first thing first is that they're always going to go for the major, promotion, so to speak. So it's PWI at the moment saying, oh no, AEW, we class it as such, so we'll kind of put that in that position, like I said, with Moxley winning it last year as well. But also, if you look back at the history, I mean, the Giant and Lex Luger and Diesel all won for the year. Hulk Hogan has been number one 3 times. So, it's like I say, I'm not going to see too much into it because everybody, and this is the thing I love about wrestling, is everybody's got a different opinion about it. And that's what makes wrestling so subjective and so much fun because one man's oh, he's terrible, but there's something you like about him, and that's what makes that wrestler special,
Yeah. But I still, like I said, there's 3 wrestlers in there. They're not in this list. Like I said, Nick Aldis, even though he just recently lost the belt, should have been in this list. Fatu and who was the other guy I mentioned? Oh God, I forgot. But these guys, I mean, Kenny Omega winning it. I mean, I wasn't not disappointed at all. Even though he did. This is where all this thing with him and Ospreay started, where he said that the only competition he had was another big dog, where he was talking about Roman Reigns. And so, but this is interesting though, because of this top 500 stuff. Now you got Ospreay and Omega going at it on Twitter. So are we going to see a match between these two because of the Forbidden Door? That is the question.
Well, that's the thing. That is, I mean, and that's the thing that we've answered a lot of questions here with the show, but there's also so many questions to be answered as well if you look upon AEW and everything else like this. But I will say, finally, last point is in 1996, 3 men signed with WCW and kind of changed the world of wrestling with NWO. That very same month, Austin 316 was born. So over to you, Vince. All right, you've seen what AEW has done. Now it's down to you. Can you do anything to save history?
Listen, at this point with WWE, look, the last thing I read, I know Kevin Owens' contract is up in January. Now, my question to this is, they're not looking at the independent scene anymore. They're gonna grab just people out of the streets or other sports to make them wrestlers. Is it gonna work? I highly doubt it because, being a wrestler is not easy. I know a lot of wrestlers that independent scenes that I befriended because of the podcast and all that, and it's not an easy thing. Now, my question is, what is WWE going to do to try to top AEW right now? I don't see nothing they're going to do. They look desperate. I heard SmackDown last night was pretty good because it came from Madison Square Garden. I have not seen it yet, but I'm going to check it out after I finish here. So that is a big question. Like, what WWE is going to do next? I mean, and right now, they're not looking at the company as a professional wrestling because it's not. They're more sports entertainment. They're going that Disney route. They're trying to keep it PG-13. So if you're thinking, well, this is going to happen, NXT right now is just starting next week. It's not going to be the same thing. A lot of the wrestlers that are in NXT right now don't know what the plans are. So they are. Okay.
But this is the thing. And I was going to say, like you said, you don't know what the plans are for NXT if it is. But if we just finish it here, as in to say, we'll go back to that pipe bomb CM Punk said. And Vince McMahon will make money to spite himself, and it's a question of how many more eyeballs and fans are looking at AEW product where WWE finally say, because like I said, even the Monday Night Wars, going back 20 years ago now, like it wasn't until the end of 97, start of 98, they decided to go a bit Attitude Era. And that was after a couple of years of them, going toe to toe. So it'll be interesting to see if they still think, no, we'll stick to what we're doing. Or if, like you said, the next kind of WWE kind of fighting back. And then if WWE start actually caring about the product, continue what AEW is doing, then we all gain something as wrestling fans.
Well, again, Vince McMahon has to let other people run the company, because as long as him, Bruce Pritchard, Nick Khan, all those guys keep running the company, you're not gonna see no changes. They're gonna give, because they are trying to get new eyes on their product, not specifically professional wrestling fans, just casual fans. And again, I mean, where is WWE going to be at this time next year? That is the question.
That is it. But well, that is brilliant. Wayne, what a show today that we've had, and that is it for now. Don't forget, we're across all social media, Twitter at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNRJR. Where can they find all your fantastic content?
They can find me on all social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, the Chokeslam Wrestling Report. You can find me on the audio podcast and Spotify, Apple, Google Podcast, and Amazon Music, the Chokeslam Wrestling Report with the ultimate.
Well, WNR also on Facebook and Instagram, across the Google platform. Send us an email at WNRpodcast@gmail.com, and YouTube, WNR Podcast. We have all the latest clips. And you go at the same time on YouTube as you do SoundCloud on your phone, and also Spotify and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. So that is it. Our next episode together will be Impact at the start of next month, if that's all right for you.
Which Bound for Glory?
It will be a Victory Road that we'll look at with a few impacts building towards Bound for Glory. And then, of course, our next episode on the WNR will be Monty with NXT UK. But until then, I've been James Bones, and I was joined by the fantastic Altmon. Again, thank you for joining me very much, and a happy anniversary. Yes. And what a show to celebrate our anniversary on.
Oh, yes. I mean, it couldn't be any better than this show, AEW, All Out. And, it's crazy. 1 year already. It feels like it was longer than that. Again, I enjoy every minute of this. We definitely got to hook up again.
Without a shadow of a doubt, we will hear the Ultimate One on the WNR Podcast soon. But until then, I have been James Rowlands. Like I said, thanks for listening, everybody, and bye.